This time, law enforcement is confident, based upon evidence at the scene and preliminary investigation, that the bodies found yesterday are those of Lyric Cook and Elizabeth Collins.
On July 13th, Lyric Cook and Elizabeth Collins went missing near Myers Lake in Evansdale. Nearly 5 months later, the search for Lyric and Elizabeth has most likely come to an end. The Evansdale Police Department held a press conference yesterday after hunters found 2 bodies near Reedland. Authorities say that they are confident that the bodies are those of 11-year-old Lyric Cook and 9-year-old Elizabeth Collins. The 2 went missing from the Evansdale area in July 145 days ago. WTV's Jacqueline Schutte was at the scene where the bodies were found.
At a press conference on Thursday, Blackhawk County Sheriff Rick Abbins said the bodies found in Seven Bridges Park in Redland have still not been confirmed by state medical examiners as those of 9-year-old Elizabeth Collins and 11-year-old Lyric Cook. He also said the families of the girls have not yet viewed the bodies, but authorities are confident that they are those of the missing girls. Sheriff Abbins did confirm that they were found in the park, which is just 13 miles from Waverly. Investigators have been combing the area and will continue to do so. Sheriff Abbins said they are considering calling the case a homicide, but are waiting for the autopsy results. This area is so close to Wartburg that some Wartburg cross-country team members have biked here before.
It's scary to think of how close it is and how daily we're on those paths and we do cross-country workouts on those paths.
Sheriff Abbins ended by saying there will be no more press conferences until they have more information. Reporting for Wartburg TV, I'm Jacqueline Schutte.
Sheriff Abbins said if you have any tips or information about the case, to call the tip hotline at 319-232-6682.
In the state of Iowa, voters are allowed to register on the polls on Election Day, but for one Wartburg College student, casting his vote was not easy.
Tuesday, Waverly citizens were part of the 600,000 Iowans that turned out to vote. About 70% of Bremer County voted.
People want to have some saying what happens to them, and there will be economically, socially, internationally. So if you're concerned about the direction your country is going, you want to get involved in politics because the politicians make those decisions.
But for one Wartburg student who used to be a political science major, the process was not that easy.
It was pretty ridiculous. I just thought, this is so frustrating. New-time voters like me might just get frustrated and give it up altogether.
He went to the auditor's office 3 times over 2 days and brought 6 forms of identification.
I went back on Tuesday at the actual poll center itself, and I brought back a few more documents, and the lawyer actually looked at everything and he said, "This is ridiculous. They should have just let you register yesterday."
Bremer County Auditor says there's a reason why it's necessary to have strict voting policies.
There's certain criteria that needs to be met and very specific documentation. There still has to be security measures to make sure that people aren't voting multiple times and that they're really truly legitimate and it's the law.
She says many Wartburg students had a difficult time voting because the documents are difficult for college students to get.
The best thing for college kids to do is to get registered before that 10-day, before the election deadline. Some of them didn't accomplish getting it in here, so their ballots were not counted.
But in the end, Chase got to wear an I voted sticker.
Yeah, I did get a vote, so that was, I don't know, that was a good feeling. First election, it was pretty cool.
Chase did say he considered voting early when satellite voting was at Wartburg, but wanted to wait until the debates were over and to feel like he was part of the actual election day.
WTV's Jacqueline Schutte takes a look back at some old Wartburg traditions and now how things have changed and why this is the topic of discussion during National Hazing Prevention Week.
In addition to general campus programs, college sophomores held activities of their own.
During my orientation, the people on our floor they rinsed our hair with some, I don't know, I think it was something that had tomato juice in it.
The general campus things were relatively harmless. Embarrassing, but harmless. Didn't hurt me to wear my boxers outside my pants for a day.
The freshmen were called squires during their first weeks of initiation at college. After that, they were baptized by being thrown into the fountain. Then, they were knights.
I'm always amazed that students in my era did all this. That they went along with some of these practices, because now, as I think back, you wouldn't have really had to do that, but we did it. There were shared misery. You did get to know people.
There was a great side to being welcome to Wartburg. Tremendous amount of bonding. By the end of those 2-3 weeks of initiation, you knew a lot of your classmates.
Although these experiences were completely normal at the time, Director of Campus Programming and National Hazing Prevention Board Committee member Ashley Lang says today's standards are very different.
A lot of those things would be considered hazing. In the 60s and 70s, things like that were probably accepted. Maybe they weren't acceptable, but they were accepted. Is it really necessary to potentially harm someone or put that opportunity out there to be harmed if you really care about that person and want to get to know them?
Reporting for WTV News, I'm Jacqueline Schutte.
Ashley Lang says to tell someone if you witness hazing situations. There are hazing hotlines that are confidential. She encourages students to speak with her and to not be a bystander.
With the rising cost of tuition here at Wartburg and across the nation, every dollar counts.
WTV's Jacqueline Schutte found out why some majors at Wartburg are now more expensive than others.
Students saw a new charge in their tuition statement this year.
First of all, I thought it was like a mistake or something, so I was really confused.
It's a brand new fee that was added. It's $150 for specific courses that we call extended instruction.
Students were emailed about the new fee in late August. It's intended to help offset some of the costs that come with extra class time. Usually science classes with labs that meet for 6.5 hours a week instead of the usual 3.5. Third-year biology major Sammy Brewitt has 3 extended science classes this semester. That means she's paying an extra $450.
We're paying like $42,000 to go here. Like, where is that money going if it's not going to lab?
The fee is still less than if students would be charged for another class credit.
If we charge them more, but not as much as a credit would cost, then that allows us to limit the overall increase in tuition for everybody else.
If the course-specific fee wasn't added, tuition would have been raised for everyone. The extended instruction fees add up to about $2,000 extra a science major will have to pay over the next 4 years.
Nobody's getting rich off these fees. We're pouring the revenue back into the educational experience. The value of Wartburg education it's worth it.
Reporting for WTV News, I'm Jacqueline Schutte.
Sagerman explained the extra fee doesn't cover all extended class time fee expenses. Art classes with extended instruction times are planning a similar fee for next year.
It's unusual to see a dog at Wartburg, especially when pets aren't allowed. But in the case of second-year Leah Mitchell and Ray Ray, a special exception was made. This is Ray Ray, a 7-year-old dog who lives in Clinton Hall.
Every morning she gets her blood glucose levels checked. She has a special diet for diabetic dogs. Every 12 hours she gets insulin.
Ray Ray is blind and diabetic, and Leah suffers from anxiety. The two take care of each other.
She's my emotional support animal. She lives with me in my dorm. She greatly helps me get along with other people.
Although other colleges in Iowa have individuals with emotional support dogs, Ray Ray is Wartburg's first emotional support animal. Because of that, the college had to accommodate their policies.
Emotional support animals, the guidance for that falls under the Fair Housing Act. It was a joint effort then between disability services and the residential life.
The new policy has set guidelines for what would allow bringing an animal to Wartburg.
A medical documentation has to show that the individual has a disability that is, or a condition that is severe enough that it would interfere with their daily life.
Leah also has to provide a $1 million insurance liability policy in case of damages to people or property. But Leah says it's worth it. And not just for her.
A lot of people have said that they miss their dog. I personally think that just dogs in general help people.
We're really happy that this situation has been positive for the student.
Leah says Ray Ray has greatly helped her and has some advice for those who may be struggling.
Don't let your problems stop you.